It was a calm Saturday morning in Willow Creek Estates, the kind of quiet suburb where the loudest sound is usually a lawnmower or the HOA president's heels clicking on pavement. I walked out of my house, coffee mug in hand, planning to wash my new ride, a silver 2022 Mustang GT I'd finally bought after saving for years. As I hit the garage opener, sunlight bounced off the car's chrome, almost blinding me. I smiled proudly, admiring my hard work parked in my own garage. But the peace didn't last long. Across the street, Karen, the neighborhood's self-appointed HOA enforcer, was already outside trimming her roses, or rather pretending to, because her eyes were locked on my driveway. Her mouth dropped open as she squinted at the car, then at me, then back at the car again. "Oh my God, that's my car!" she yelled. I blinked. "Excuse me?" She stormed across the street, clutching her phone. "That's the same car I just bought yesterday. You stole it from the dealership, didn't you?" I almost laughed. "Karen, what are you talking about? I picked this up 3 days ago. Got all the papers inside if you want to see them." Her eyes widened as if I'd just confessed. "Oh, I will see them, when the police arrive." I sighed. Of course she was calling 911. As she began describing me to the dispatcher, I could hear her saying, "Yes, he's standing right there, smug like he owns the place, and he has the exact same car I just bought." Within 10 minutes, 2 police cruisers rolled into the cul-de-sac, lights flashing. Neighbors peeked from their porches, whispering. My stomach twisted, not from guilt, but from pure disbelief. Officer Ramirez stepped out first, hand on his holster. "Sir, can you explain what's going on here?" Karen jumped in before I could open my mouth. "He stole my car. That's my Mustang. I just bought one like that yesterday." The officer looked from her to me, then to the car. "Ma'am, do you have your license plate number?" Karen blinked, frozen. "Well, no, not memorized, but I'll recognize it." The officer sighed. "All right, ma'am, let's just check the VIN and registration." When I handed over my documents, Karen's confident smirk started to fade. Ramirez walked to his cruiser, checked the system, and came back shaking his head. "Ma'am," he said, "this vehicle is registered to him. Same address, same name. Nothing stolen here." Karen's jaw dropped. "That's impossible. There's no way 2 people could have the same car in one neighborhood." The second officer snorted quietly, trying not to laugh. Ramirez handed me my papers back. "Sir, you're good to go. Sorry for the confusion." But Karen wasn't done. No. Something's not right. I know what I saw." I looked at her, calm as ever. "Karen, maybe next time you see something shiny you could just not call 911? Her face turned redder than her roses. "You'll regret mocking me," she snapped before storming off, muttering about filing an HOA complaint. I exhaled, shaking my head. I thought it was over. It wasn't. Because the next morning, Karen didn't just double down. She drove her own Mustang right into my driveway to prove a point.
Okay, wait, so she called the cops just because he opened his own garage? That's next level entitlement. You can already tell this Karen's gonna be trouble.
The next morning, I was sipping coffee again, still chuckling at how ridiculous yesterday's 911 stunt was. I even half expected an HOA complaint letter on my porch. But instead, I got something way more entertaining. The rumble of an engine echoed from down the street, the same kind of throaty growl as my Mustang. I looked up and nearly spit my drink out. It was Karen, behind the wheel of a nearly identical silver Mustang GT. She screeched to a stop halfway into my driveway, leaving tire marks like she was in a drag race. She jumped out in her bright pink slippers and robe, waving a folder in one hand. "See? See? I told you." I blinked. "Good morning to you too, Karen." She stomped closer, pointing at my car. "They sold me this model yesterday and I checked. The dealership said mine was the only one in this color combo within 50 miles. "Karen," I said, holding back a grin, "you do realize that's like saying you bought the only silver car in the world?" She ignored me completely and began circling my Mustang like a detective at a crime scene. It's the same trim, same wheels, same spoiler. Admit it, you switched VIN plates. I raised an eyebrow. You really think I stole your VIN number? Oh, don't play dumb, she snapped, pointing her phone camera at my car. I'm documenting this for the HOA. They'll love to see you're harboring stolen property. Karen, the HOA doesn't handle car theft, I said. They barely handle mailboxes. Before I could say anything else, she walked right up to the garage door and started pulling on it. I stepped forward. Hey, don't touch my property! But she ignored me again. I'm just checking if the paint matches. You probably repainted it. That's when she tripped over the hose and fell flat on her back, right into a puddle of soap water from when I'd been washing the car earlier. Her slippers went flying. I couldn't help it. I laughed. Karen, are you okay? I asked, offering her a hand. She glared up at me, soaked and furious. This is harassment. You're laughing at me after stealing my car. Before I could even respond, I saw her grab her phone again. My stomach dropped. You've got to be kidding me, I muttered as she started dialing. Hello, 911? She shouted. It's me again. He's taunting me with my stolen vehicle. The dispatcher must have recognized her voice because she paused and frowned. No, this isn't a prank. He's standing right over me. Minutes later, the same officers from yesterday rolled up, Ramirez and his partner, now looking thoroughly exhausted. Ramirez sighed as soon as he saw us. Ma'am. Not again. Karen scrambled to her feet, pointing dramatically. He has my car right there, and he laughed when I fell. The officer rubbed his temples. Okay, let's go over this one more time. I handed him my registration again, calm as ever. Karen shoved her paperwork forward too. Ramirez walked to the cars, checking both VINs, license plates, and registrations. A few moments later, he came back holding both sets of papers. He looked at Karen first. Ma'am, both of these cars are completely legal and owned by their respective people. Identical models, but separate VINs. Karen's jaw dropped. No, that can't be right. He must have bribed someone. Ramirez crossed his arms. Ma'am, are you accusing me of taking bribes now? Her face paled instantly. No, I didn't mean you, officer. I meant, ma'am, he interrupted. False 911 calls are a serious offense. This is your second one in 24 hours. You need to stop harassing your neighbor. The other officer, chuckling under his breath, added, You've officially broken the HOA peace code and possibly your own back. A couple of neighbors had gathered again, filming the scene from their lawns. One of them shouted, Karen, maybe it's time to find a new hobby. Her face turned crimson. I'll report all of you to the HOA, she screeched before jumping into her car, still dripping water, and speeding off so fast she nearly hit a mailbox. Ramirez turned to me with a smirk. You've got patience, man. Not sure I'd last this long. I shrugged. I've learned something about Karen. The more you argue, the louder she gets. He laughed. Well, let's hope she doesn't call again. I nodded, watching her taillights vanish down the street. But something told me this wasn't over. And sure enough, 2 days later, I caught her snooping around again, this time with a clipboard and a camera. She wasn't calling the cops this time. She was calling the HOA board meeting.
Bro, she really doubled down with zero proof. Imagine being so confident and still being wrong. The neighbors must have been done with her by now.
2 days after the second police incident, I thought maybe, just maybe, Karen had learned her lesson. I was wrong. Dead wrong. It was a bright Tuesday morning. The kind of peaceful day that made you want to open the windows, brew some coffee, and let the breeze in. I was mid-sip when I saw her again, this time dressed like she was going to court. Clipboard, pearls, a floral blouse, and an expression that could curdle milk. I sighed. Oh no, I muttered. Not the clipboard. She strutted up my driveway like she owned it. Good morning, she said, in a tone that sounded more like a threat than a greeting. Morning, Karen, I replied cautiously. What brings you here today? Another emergency? She held the clipboard tight. I'll have you know, I brought your little incident before the HOA board. They've agreed to hold an emergency meeting about your behavior. I blinked. My behavior? Yes, she snapped. You've been antagonizing me. You laughed when I fell. You keep flaunting that car to make me look bad. I had to bite my tongue to keep from laughing. Karen, I park my car in my own garage. She flipped a page on her clipboard dramatically. It's about the principle. You're lowering property values by creating tension on our street, and the HOA is going to deal with it. Okay, I said, crossing my arms. So when's this meeting? Tonight. And I've already spoken to the board members. She gave a sly smile. They agree you've been disruptive. I couldn't help but grin. Karen, I know all three of those board members. One of them is literally my cousin. Her face froze. I continued. But sure, I'll be there. That evening, the HOA clubhouse looked like a courtroom. Karen sat at one end of the long table, surrounded by a few neighbors who clearly came just to watch the drama. I walked in quietly, holding my registration papers, and a surprise folder of my own. Karen wasted no time. She stood up dramatically and began her speech. Ladies and gentlemen of the HOA board, she said, pacing like a prosecutor. We have a serious issue in our community. This man, she pointed at me, has repeatedly mocked and harassed me, and I believe he has caused unnecessary chaos with his stolen property. Gasps echoed around the room. I just sat there, calm as ever. She continued, he humiliated me in front of police officers, disrespected our rules, and laughed at my misfortune. I demand action. The HOA president, a soft-spoken older man named Mr. Lewis, cleared his throat. Karen, we understand your concerns, but the police have already verified that his car is not stolen. Karen's eye twitched. That's what they think. But look at them. Identical. It's too suspicious. Mr. Lewis sighed. Identical models exist, Karen. The audience chuckled quietly. Karen's face turned red again. All right, he said, turning to me. Sir, do you have anything to say in your defense? I smiled and stood up. Actually, yes, I do. I opened my folder and began pulling out documents. The bill of sale, registration, insurance, even pictures of me at the dealership. Then I added something else, a printed copy of Karen's 911 call record, which was now public information. This, I said calmly, is the report from the police department stating that I was falsely accused twice by the same person, both times proven innocent. The room went silent. Karen started to stammer. That's invasion of privacy. No, I said, it's called public record, and it shows a pattern of harassment. Mr. Lewis frowned. Karen, this doesn't look good. Oh, come on, she yelled, turning toward the room. You're all just taking his side because he has a fancy car. That's when my cousin, who was sitting quietly in the back, stood up. Karen, with all due respect, you've called the cops twice on a man for owning a car. You've trespassed on his property, and now you're trying to use the HOA to bully him. That's not how this community works. The audience started murmuring in agreement. One neighbor whispered loudly, Finally, someone said it. Karen turned red again, her voice rising. You're all against me. This neighborhood used to have standards. Mr. Lewis sighed. Karen will be issuing a written warning. If you continue this behavior, you may be fined for harassment and misuse of HOA authority. Karen froze. What? You're fining me? Yes, Mr. Lewis said firmly. And if you ever call the police on a neighbor without evidence again, we'll recommend legal action. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. She just stood there shaking before grabbing her clipboard and storming out of the room. As the door slammed behind her, the room erupted into quiet laughter. Mr. Lewis turned to me with a small smile. Sorry about all this. You handled it well. I nodded. Thanks. I just want peace and quiet again." He chuckled. "You might get it, unless she finds something new to complain about." I smirked. "Oh, I'm sure she will." But I didn't expect what she'd do next. Because the very next morning, I caught her sneaking back toward my garage, this time with a bucket of paint and a very bad idea.
I swear, this Karen is obsessed, calling HOA, recording people's, and showing up again. It's like trying to collect L's on purpose.
The sun hadn't even fully risen when I heard the faint sound of shuffling outside. My security camera notification pinged. Motion detected near the garage. Half awake, I grabbed my phone and checked the feed. And there she was, Karen. Again. This time she wasn't in her robe or slippers. She was dressed head to toe in black, like she thought she was starring in a spy movie. In one hand, she held a bucket of bright red paint, and in the other, a paintbrush. I rubbed my eyes, almost laughing. No way! She's really doing this. Karen tiptoed to my garage door, glancing around like a cartoon villain. She dipped the brush and started painting a massive X across the metal panels. I opened the window quietly. "Hey, Karen," I said in the calmest voice possible. She jumped so high she almost spilled the bucket. "Wait, what are you doing up this early?" she stammered. "I could ask you the same thing," I said. "That's a bold color choice." She pointed the dripping brush at me. "You deserve this. Everyone thinks I'm crazy because of you. I'm marking this door so everyone knows it belongs to a thief." "Karen," I said slowly, "you do realize there are cameras all over this house, right?" Her face froze. I pointed toward the blinking red light above the garage. "That one's live streaming to a cloud backup." Her jaw dropped. You can't record me without my consent." I grinned. "It's my property, and you're vandalizing it. So yeah, I can." She started backing away, fumbling with the bucket. But before she could retreat, the handle slipped from her fingers. The entire bucket of red paint tipped forward and splashed all over her front, soaking her from neck to shoes. For a moment, everything went completely silent. Then, drip, drip. Red paint slid down her face. I had to cover my mouth to stop from laughing out loud. "Karen, you okay there?" She looked down at herself, horror dawning on her face. You set me up." "Set you up?" I said. "You literally brought the paint." That's when my neighbor, Mrs. Patel, came jogging by with her morning coffee. She froze mid-step, eyes widening. "Oh dear, Karen," she said. "Trying a new fashion trend?" From across the street, another neighbor shouted, "Looks like someone's been caught red-handed." The laughter spread like wildfire. Karen's cheeks turned bright crimson. Well, under all the actual crimson paint. "Stop laughing!" she screamed, running toward her car. But it was too late. Her red handprints smeared across the door handles and steering wheel. And guess who pulled up just then? Officer Ramirez. He parked beside her driveway, stepped out, and just stared at her for a long second. Then, deadpan, he said, "Ma'am, please tell me this isn't what it looks like." Karen froze, dripping. "Officer, he trapped me. He made me spill paint." Ramirez sighed, rubbing his forehead. "Karen, are you seriously vandalizing his property again after being warned by the HOA?" "No, I was marking, identifying evidence." He turned toward me. "You got this on video?" I held up my phone. "Full HD, audio too." He nodded. "That'll do it. Karen, you're getting cited for property damage and HOA violation." "Again," she screamed. "This neighborhood is corrupt. You're all against me." Ramirez smiled faintly. "No, ma'am, we're just tired." As he escorted her back toward her house, neighbors peeked from porches trying not to laugh. Karen's red paint trail went from my garage, across the driveway, and up her own front steps, where she slammed the door so hard a few drops splattered on her white porch. The next day, the HOA board posted an official notice. Residents are reminded that vandalism and false reporting will result in fines and potential removal from the HOA. Rumor was, Karen got hit with the maximum fine. I spent that morning calmly repainting my garage, this time with the same color she had accidentally picked for herself. When I was done, I leaned back, smiling at the camera. Guess the only thing Karen stole, I said, was her own dignity.
The ending though, caught red-handed literally. I don't think even the HOA can save her this time. Pure instant karma. If you enjoyed that revenge story, make sure to drop a like and subscribe. More crazy Karen stories coming up next. Bye bye.